Hello.
Welcome back to Historia.
Welcome, everybody.
It's nighttime.
Yes. Almost. It's still almost dark, but not all the way there yet. Oh, yes.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Kylie. Our intros are always a mess, but please stick around. Don't leave.
See, that makes us us.
Exactly.
We are a hot mess.
Yes. And we're not going to change.
Never.
So deal with it. No, I'm just kidding.
At least we're somewhat established.
I think so.
Kind of an intro.
Yeah.
We're just not like...
We do good at the ending.
Yeah.
I feel like. Anyway, welcome, guys.
It's March.
Yes. March
Right.
Madness.
March Madness. Football.
Mad.
No. Football.
Basketball. Football. Hockey.
Hockey. It's motocross season. That's what it is. Supercross. Correct.
Love it. Go Anderson.
Yes. He's been
It's
doing...
the only one I know.
He's been doing okay.
Oh, not as good as usual.
No, I'm kind of disappointed, but like it might be Tomac's final year.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
He's the Colorado guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's from like Cortez. He's the big guy.
Where's Anderson from?
New Mexico.
Oh,
Yeah, so it was like perfect.
okay.
Because I'm from there technically.
That's true.
No, so I've been alone for like a month.
Oh my God. I don't know how you do it.
I
You
push
survive.
through. Yes,
Yeah.
I survive, and keeping busy is like the number one thing I will tell anybody.
Makes sense. At least you could have watched like whatever you want on TV.
Exactly. I've been watching a lot of Bob's Burgers and a lot of, oh my gosh, James was telling me because he's been watching a lot of like confession tapes or just like a lot of like murder mystery stuff on Netflix. And I'm like, what got you into that stuff? Like, why are you watching this? And he was like, because all I was getting like recommended were rom-coms and murder, like true crime. And I was like, oh, that's very fitting for me. Because that's all I watch.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, some of them are pretty good, I have to admit.
I love a good murder doc.
Yeah. I've been really into the rom-com, especially with like Hallmark. It's that prime, like, because soon it'll be like the wedding ones. Right now it's like the springish ones. The fall and the winter ones, I'm like, oh yeah, they're kind of repetitive. But like at least this summer, the wedding ones are a little bit different, but kind of the same.
I feel like I've only ever watched Hallmark in the winter, like Christmas.
Yeah.
But
no, their wedding like season is prime.
good to know.
Talking about other countries than America, we're talking about Europe today.
Going back to Europe. We're not going very far, are we?
We even discussed of like where we're locating, but yeah, we're in France.
Oh. Perfect. We're not going very far, but we're going to the other side.
the dark side.
France.
Yeah, these next couple of weeks are going to be, or I don't, we'll see if it's a 2 or 3-parter. I'm still undecided. We'll see where we are.
Okay.
But it's going to be a whirlwind. It's all over the place. It's crazy. It's interesting. It's shocking, dramatic, and
Ooh.
But I chose this topic specifically because it inspired me from a previous topic that we talked about. So this person that I will be discussing is an iconic figure in history for several reasons. She's controversial. She's elegant. Got caught in a very shitty situation that she kind of helped in, but also was forced into. We are repping Women's History Month this week.
Oh my God. I can't believe I didn't do a freaking woman.
Well, I didn't know it was Women's History Month until my mom texted me.
I knew that, but
Yeah, she was like, oh, it's Women's History Month. And I was like...
I'm so mad that I did a man now. Oh.
But you talked about Charlotte.
Well, yeah, and he was a good man. Yeah, he was pretty good. I did talk about Charlotte. Yeah, she was badass. Okay, sorry.
But yeah, I was like, this is perfect then. So I am going to be discussing Marie Antoinette.
I knew it. Yep. Oh, I'm excited. I've been waiting for you to do this one.
Yeah, after I did Napoleon, I was like, well, now I have to discuss like what caused the revolution.
Oh my god.
But like I didn't really want to do Louis, and I was like, well, Marie has such an amazing story. Like it's crazy. And then the movie I watched, like I wanted to watch the movie that Kirsten Dunst is in. Yeah. But it's nowhere anywhere. Like it used to be, and I was like, I guess they took it off all those platforms. So I'm like, fuck, I can't watch it. But
I haven't seen any of the movies about her.
No, this one is it was like a dramatization or whatever, but I tried to watch a documentary, but like the introduction was way too long. It was just music and like pictures coming in and out of just,
oh my God.
It was like from
get to it.
The early 2000s. I was like, I can't. And it was going to be one that I would not be interested in.
Right.
So I tried to find as much as I could on her character as like a person, rather than just like, since her story when we think of her is like summed up. Mm-hmm. She was a queen. She was a last queen of France. Let them eat cake.
Right.
Dead.
Right.
It's like there was so much more to her than we know of or that we think about. Like she was very iconic, and she still is to this day. Like her fashion. Like it's amazing. So this episode, I'm going to introduce like her formative years. So like her growing up. I am including her entire family. Okay. Because there's a lot of them. So this whole episode is pretty much just her family. And then an introduction to her. So let's get started.
I love it.
Marie.
I'm so excited.
So before we start, I just wanted to go over where I got my information from. I am not completely familiar with my knowledge of French history. I never had the opportunity to take any classes that focused on like the French Revolution or just pretty much like early French history. Like I never had that. So I was going completely kind of just like blindsided in whatever knowledge I had gathered over the years. But I've learned actually quite a bit, especially about her. So my sources are kind of all over the place, but like I have several sources which they always recommend to stick with just like a couple. Yeah. But I had to go all over the place because I wasn't confident, and I wanted to make sure that all of those sources were matching together of the history, because a lot of time the history will be super vague, so you're just like, what's going on there? So I have to go to another one, like, does this correlate with one another? So that's what I was doing for this one, because I didn't have like a book to really describe her. Like there are several books out there if you really want to know more about Marie Antoinette and get into like really dig deep into her history. There are so many books, there's so many movies and stuff that you can research. But I just went with what I have at the time. So,
yay.
We're just showing you.
Right. Just a little glimpse.
A glimpse. We recommend that you do it yourself.
For sure.
After this. So, I got sources from palacesofeurope.com, thecollector.com, worldhistory.org, the Chateau Versailles website, and the Library of Congress website.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and a lot of like I got multiple tabs off of just like different things that I talked about between like the Versailles, the Chateau Versailles, and the worldhistory.org. I kind of went back and forth between those with different topics that were involved with her. So they're all great sources and quite informative. So now we're going to start at the beginning.
Yay!
Beginning. So the world of royalty and great succession. We are first to introduce Marie's mother, Empress of the Holy Roman Empire, Maria Theresa.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Empress Maria was the eldest of her siblings, so how did she succeed the throne even though she was a female? This just doesn't happen.
Fascinating.
Well, her father, Emperor Charles VI, decided to revoke the rule of the male-only succession. He was like, get rid of it.
Hell yeah.
I think he did it more so that his line would stay in the throne than his brothers. He was like, nah, I don't want my brothers taking control of this.
That's definitely why.
It's absolute pettiness, let me tell you. So I am going to be covering just like her parents, but also her siblings, because her siblings do play a pretty influential role between her, Marie's life or Antoinette's life, and then pretty much just like how they all like interconnect around the world, because there was a lot of them. So what makes Maria Theresa so significant, other than being a female empress that was passed down, is that she was the only one in the Habsburg dynasty to do such.
Really?
Yes. No other one could do it. Now, if you heard of that name before, Habsburg, yeah, that family. You know. Do you know?
No.
Oh, if you don't know, look it up. I do want to cover them eventually. All I will say is that their mantra was keep it in the family.
Oh, God. Oh, okay. Ooh, that's all you have to say.
Not like Egypt keep it in the family, but pretty damn close. Like cousins.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. This dynasty just expands so far. It's crazy. So, further into Maria Theresa is that she may have won the throne, but that didn't prevent Daddy Charles VI from setting her up. Daddy Charles was like, honey, you may be queen or empress, quote, but
Quote.
But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get married to a nice guy that I approve of.
Of course. Always has to have daddy's approval.
So we are going to introduce now Francis Stefan, or I think it's Stefan. It could be Stephen. I don't know.
Stefan sounds more
I think it's
French.
Stephen because it's E-N. Yeah, it's Stephen.
Oh.
Son of the Duke of Lorraine. Charles liked the family and from a young age had set up an arranged marriage between Maria Theresa and Francis. At first I was like, it's not Francois because it doesn't have the O in it. But I was like, how do you pronounce this in like Austrian? And I was like, Francis. And I was like, how do they say it in like French or whatever? So I looked it up and just, I have to play it.
Oh, God.
They just, the person, how they say it is just so fucking ridiculous.
I love listening to those.
Okay, so, oh, God. How do I, okay, here we go.
Francis.
And then in French.
What the fuck?
Francis.
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 What? Did you slow it down?
No.
What? Why is it so slow?
Francis.
I don't know.
Francis.
Francis.
Francis. It's like the way that she like says it all slowly in the beginning. She's like Francis. So Francis.
Well, they were like Austrian, but I just had to do it and oh my God, let me see how they do it in Austrian.
That is really funny.
Oh, it doesn't show it. Okay. Well, that's how you say that.
Francis.
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 Yeah, Francis. That is funny.
Freaking English. God. I just had to share that.
I love that. That's awesome.
So with this arranged marriage set at such a young age, Francis would spend time often in Vienna with the family. Their bond over the years grew super strong, and they ended up loving each other when married. So Maria Theresa and Francis loved each other. Strange. That is very strange.
Shocking.
This was not common during this time. Most marriages like Marie's are for political or strategical gain. I'm sure that was a purpose for Maria Theresa and Francis, but they ended up falling in love anyway. I think just being around each other for so long, it's just like you didn't really, like you probably could relate to one another. Everything.
Yeah.
So the two loved each other so much, they ended up having 16 children together within 19 years.
Oh my God. How did we both pick people who had a bunch of children?
This woman was never not pregnant.
Oh my god.
She was the OG Duggar family.
16. Yeah. Dang.
16 kids and counting.
Wow.
So Maria Theresa was very adamant on making sure her children were well educated for their culture, I guess, but also that they would be set into marriages that would either have them on the throne or in some sort of power.
Okay.
Or it would benefit them for the Holy Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. Their eldest, so now I'm getting into all of like the surviving kids, because I went through like a whole list of them, and then I was like, I'm missing some, but I assume that they probably died during birth or within just like the early days, because these are just ones that were like significant to, I don't know, having like a childhood or just being in some sort of power. Mm-hmm. So their eldest was Archduchess Anna Maria, who was a spinster as she focused on her interests in arts and science, but she was also physically disabled.
Oh, wow.
So because she was physically disabled, they assumed like, oh, she wouldn't be able to have like a family and kids. So she was pretty much just like sent to a convent to like live out her life of just focusing on like arts and sciences. So yeah, she was kind of just
living
life, didn't really do much. And she was the eldest.
Wow.
Yeah. So the next was the Archduke Joseph, who first marries Princess Isabella and had a daughter with her, but their daughter died of pneumonia. And then Isabella died from smallpox.
Dang.
So he really liked Princess Isabella. Like, he loved her very much, and they had a great relationship. But like with this death, it really took to him. But of course, Maria Theresa was like, you need to have an heir. Like, you need to have a wife and kids. So he was then forced to marry his cousin, Maria Josefa of Bavaria. And not even 2 years into his marriage, she died of smallpox.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he never married after that. He's like,
screw this.
He's like, done. Sorry, Ma, I'm not gonna be the next emperor. Like, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So that was a disappointment to her. So then we have our next one, Archduchess Maria Christina, who married her love, the only one who could choose, Prince Albert of Saxony, Duke of Teschen. They would have a daughter, but she would die after birth. They would eventually adopt Charles of Austria, Christina's brother's Leopold's son. So they pretty much didn't like really establish anything. So I feel like this was like pretty like consistent for most of like the kids of Marie Antoinette. Is like a lot of her siblings, they kind of just like didn't have as many kids as her parents did.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't that fertile.
Makes sense.
But they also just didn't, they have the Habsburg dynasty in them, so that says a lot.
Yee! You need to cover them next.
A lot of genetics. But so the next one is actually quite unfortunate. We have Archduchess Maria Elizabeth, who was deemed the prettiest by her mother. So Maria Theresa was like, oh my gosh, she's the prettiest. Like, screw everyone else. Like, she is going to marry the best.
Ugh.
Well, due to surviving smallpox, the scarring on her face would be everlasting.
Oh.
And no one liked that. They're like, oh my God, the prettiness is gone. Like, she's not worth it. Like, she's going to have bad kids because of this.
Jesus.
Yeah, so this ruined her shot of good marriage, so she would be sent to a convent for the rest of her life, yeah. So
that is the saddest thing I've ever heard.
I know. It's like,
wow.
Man, you were set to be the best, and look at you.
Yeah, you got smallpox, so
you're done.
You're done with your life.
It's so sad. The next child was the Archduke Karl Joseph, who was determined that he was the rightful heir to the throne and was determined to take it from his brother. So this was before, like, the whole shit was going on with his brother not being able to provide an heir. Mm-hmm. So he was, like, determined. Like, he was going to get violent about getting the throne. But before he could, he would die of smallpox just before turning 16. So it looks like in Vienna, smallpox was just going rampant.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people would die because of it. We then have the Archduchess Maria Amalia, who was married to Ferdinand, Duke of Parma. She was absolutely pissed that she had to marry him because Christina didn't have to, because she married the guy that she loved and she had a happy marriage. But then she was like, I have to marry this guy. Maria Amalia was just like, she never forgave her mother for this.
Yeah.
She had never had, after she got married to him, they did not have a close relationship after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she kind of just, left her out. She was just like, no. But they would end up having 9 kids.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that probably just kept her busy of, you go do your stuff.
Right.
I'm going to raise our children.
Yeah, I'm busy here. Just stay away from me.
So then there was the Archduke Peter Leopold, who married Infanta Maria Luisa of Spain. I believe he was supposed to be engaged to another woman, but it didn't work out, so he ended up marrying her, Luisa. The two would go on to have 16 children, and all were pretty intelligent. They were pretty smart kids. They had, a good head on their shoulders. He would be the Duke of Tuscany for a hot minute. He would actually eventually be the emperor when his brother Joseph would end up dying. So his brother Joseph, I think, only reigned for a couple years before he took charge.
Wow.
Yeah. So, doot. And I believe out of some of the 9 kids, his sister would end up taking Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's Leopold. There's so many kids. So, the next child was the Archduchess Maria Johanna Gabriella, who was engaged to... Okay, so this is about to get crazy of that it's just a never-ending pool of children and how Maria Theresa was just determined to marry her kids off. So...
It sounds like it.
Yeah, Maria Josepha was on her way to get married to Ferdinand I of the Two Sicilies. But she ended up getting sick and passing away. No, that's the second one. I'm sorry. Backtrack. The child was... Okay, so it's Archduchess Maria Johanna Gabriella, who was engaged to Ferdinand I of the Two Sicilies, but she died of smallpox at the age of 12.
Oh.
So she was originally to marry him.
Yeah.
Well, after she died, her Maria Theresa was determined to have one of her kids marry this guy. So she was like, okay, Maria Josepha, you are going to marry Ferdinand I of the Two Sicilies. And she was like, okay. And so she was on her way to get married to him in Sicily, that she also died of smallpox at the age of 16.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just not working out.
Oh, no. This third time's the charm.
Oh,
so
no.
Maria was like, okay, Archduchess Maria Carolina, you are going to go marry King Ferdinand I of the Two Sicilies. And she was like, okay. So she left, and they actually ended up having 18 children.
Oh my God.
11.
This family tree.
Yeah, 11 of them would die in childhood, though.
Oh.
Yeah, which was common. It's that's why you had 50 children.
Right, just in case.
But yeah, it took 3 of her children just to marry this guy.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Smallpox just took over this entire family.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's wild. So we're almost getting there. So there was then the Archduke Ferdinand that that married Maria Beatrice d'Este for the strategy of taking... I don't know how to pronounce it. It's douchey, but I think it's
douche. Just kidding.
I don't know. Of Medina. They would have 10 children, and one of her children would marry her cousin.
Oh, okay.
I think one of Leopold's kids.
I like how all the kids are just Maria, Maria, Maria.
Well, I think that's it's a maiden name
Yeah,
that they're given. It's a title name.
that makes sense because
Yeah.
they all have different middle name or like second name?
Oh, they have like 10 names.
Yeah.
I don't even know at this point. I'm like, should I call her Antoinette? Should I call her Marie Antoinette? Like, I don't know. But okay, so we're now at the final and last child that survived childhood of this very large family. They're the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
And of course, their youngest was the Archduchess Maria Antonia, also known as Marie Antoinette. I'm not done. We introduce our queen, born on November 2nd, 1755 in Vienna. She was given the name Maria Antonia Josepha Joanna, Archduchess of Austria. She got a big name.
Wow.
Big old name. Even though she was the youngest of all her siblings, since being the youngest, she had quite the affection from her mother growing up. The younger sibling, or the younger, oh God, what's it called? So you have like syndrome, I guess, because you have like the oldest, middle, and youngest, like syndrome. And
Oh,
the youngest
yeah.
always tends to be like taken care of and stuff. And her childhood was otherwise a happy one up until her teen years. It was her teen years that turned into a shit show. So Marie Antoinette, or Maria Antonia, at
Whatever
this
you want
time,
to call her.
yeah, would spend winters at their family's lodge in Luxembourg and summers in Vienna at the Schönbrunn Palace. A wild story about Maria Antonia is that the fact that she knew Mozart as a child.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought that was really interesting.
that is very interesting.
Yeah, the two would meet at the age 7, where he would help her develop her love and knowledge to play music.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, look at this piano. It's pretty neat.
Two legends in one room.
Literally.
Damn.
I can't imagine at the age of 7.
Wow.
He just handed her like a harp and was like, hey, play this. And she's like, cool.
Oh my God.
So she would go on to play like the harpsichord, the flute, and she also dabbled in dancing. I heard too, she was actually a pretty good singer as well.
What a queen.
Queen, literally.
Literally.
Now, he really did have an impact on her love for the arts, even at such a young age. Like, this would go into her adulthood. Like, she really took to him, and I guess they stayed pretty good friends. I'm not really sure. So, even though Maria Antonia was the youngest, she would look to her older sister, Maria Carolina, for friendship. There was a lot of them. She had to look to one.
Yeah.
This became very important after the death of their father in 1765. Maria Theresa, though she had all her children, her true love was to her husband, Francis. So when he died in 1765, a switch of grief turned on for Maria Theresa. So, like, her kids were like her duty and expectations, but she loved Francis so much. And him dying just was like a shock to everyone. And this hit her the hardest out of all of them. So instead of becoming a shell of herself, Maria Theresa would take her emotions and throw them at her younger children who had yet to be married off. Maria Theresa took this grief out on Maria Antonia, Marie, whatever. Now that the love of her life was gone, the only thought on Maria Theresa's mind was to marry the rest of her children off to the best person possible. The best person Maria Theresa thought was best for Maria Antonia was the Dauphin of France. Shocking.
Wow.
A little backstory between France and Austria during this time is that they did not like one another. More like they hated each other.
Yeah.
Prior to the 7 Years' War, that wasn't too long before this, King Louis XV of France was an enemy to Maria Theresa. So this was, this was like a big shift. Now, why would they ever take a deal to have their heir marry an Austrian archduchess? Like,
Yeah.
why would this happen? Well, because France was not doing so well with the revolution just around the corner. And their finances doing really bad. So they agreed to an alliance. This alliance would be drawn through marriage. So it was pretty much like a protection for the time. And they probably got some money for dowry or something. I don't know. So Maria Antoinette would be married to King Louis XV's grandson, Louis Auguste, Duke of Berry, also known as Louis XVI, the final king of France.
Oh. Okay.
So with the marriage arranged, renunciation of the Habsburg land, so she had to give up all of her life prior. Maria Antoinette would be sent off to France at the age of 14 in May 1770. She would now hold the title of Dauphine. The French name would then be placed onto her. She was no longer Maria Antoinette, Archduchess of Austria. She was now Marie Antoinette, the Dauphine of France.
Wow.
The two would wed in the Royal Chapel at Versailles on May 16, 1770. So they pretty much just met each other when they got married because no one wanted to deal with like a whole courtship.
Yeah, too much
They're
work.
like, just make it happen because then we'll end up hating each other more.
True.
So a transition that Marie Antoinette would have to do when she got to France was the change of her clothes. When she arrived, the wedding dress she was wearing was that an Austrian would wear for their wedding. She was wearing, because they had it's a different culture, so they had different styles of clothes, and she was wearing an Austrian wedding dress, and they're like, oh, honey, no. So Antoinette and Marie Antoinette would be stripped down from her clothes, just in broad daylight, and put into clothes that were fit for a French royal.
Jesus.
So they're like, you're French now. And
They
she's
can't even put her in privacy?
literally. So this would be the first act of stripping away her formal life and jumping into the French ideology.
Oh, man.
this
I don't
new
think
life.
this is going to go well.
No. This did not mean that she removed that Austrian side of her. She's like, this would also get a lot of backlash too, is that she didn't completely devote herself to being a true French, and the French people hated that. They're so judgmental. Marie Antoinette in her life would actually be ridiculed for not being lavish enough like a true French queen should be. But when you look at pictures of her, you're like, how?
Yeah.
But it happened. There were a lot of pamphlets talking shit. So focusing back onto the wedding, it was awkward to say the least. This marriage may have been done for an alliance, but that did not mean that everybody was happy about it. A lot of just any of the royal or the nobles and stuff, they're just like, what the hell is France doing? What is the monarchy doing?
Oh, my God.
Why did they have an alliance with Austria? That's so unheard of. But France was struggling, and not a lot of people were understanding that. So knowing all the pain the two countries have caused between each other, the public was not so fond that their future queen came from a land that they loathed. They're like, you're fucking kidding me. We're poor, we can't eat, and you put this lady as your queen. WTF. So nothing too wild went on at their reception. Just a lot of side eyes and awkward silence. They're just like, I don't know what to do. So they did have a start of they did introduce the Royal Opera at their wedding. They had a whole look and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. So this was a rough start for the future queen, as she was already disliked and had a rough future ahead. So next week, we are going to be diving further into this lavish life and the start of the unruly demise of Marie Antoinette.
Oh, I'm already intrigued.
Yeah, she is. I feel bad for her, but it's just, they were so young. He was 15.
Yeah, that is a little
and she
too
was 14. They were children.
Whew.
They were children.
No, that's not good.
No, it's not. So,
Ugh.
but yeah, that is Marie Antoinette.
Awesome.
Part
I'm
one.
excited for part 2.
Yay.
So exciting. So stay tuned for next week, everyone. It's going to be lit.
Yeah. Where can you find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Historia the Podcast. You can email us at historiathepodcast@gmail.com.
We'll catch you next week for more French bullshit.
We're going to go to Wonderland now.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.